Joining me now, Scott Rasmussen. Go to scottrasmussen.com. It is the site you got to go to for campaigns, and he is joining us now. Scott, thank you for your patience and for my baseball rant. Thanks for being with us.
Well, it's usually I like the things that you talk about. You dispense truth, but obviously everything you say about the Yankees is just wrong. And so I'm not even going to get into that. I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm still feeling like a little bit of a jilted lover with the way the whole baseball season has gone down.
Agreed.
I'm irritated. And look, I say it right now, but I know that as soon as they start playing games, I'm going to watch. But right, it's just like, really? It took you this long to figure it out, and you're only going to play 60 games. And baseball could have had the entire stage to itself for a lot longer. But look, that's a different topic than you want to talk about today.
Well, no, but it is a big topic because, look, I did a couple of really upset Facebook rants about, the fact that you got these players that don't want to play and they're making all these millions of dollars and everybody's stuck inside and, give us something to do because, without us, you wouldn't be making all these millions. I really went off on that one starter on Tampa Bay that said, well, I'm just not going to play this season because if I can't get, my full salary, I'm not going to play. And it's like, listen, you little snot-nosed weasel. If it hadn't been for, I think it was Blake Snell. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, dude, right? You make millions of dollars. How do you think you get that money, you little creep? We pay it by going to your stupid games, and especially if you're in Tampa Bay. Have you ever been to that stadium, Tampa Bay? It's like a cement truck masquerading as a baseball stadium. I think it's a joke.
Yeah, and again, I'm at this, right now I'm in the moment of saying, I don't care, but I know that I will as soon as spring training comes, as soon as or summer training, whatever they're going to call it, as soon as I get back, it'll be fun, and it is going to be so much fun to come on your show and celebrate the Yankees World Series championship. I am really looking forward to that.
So what happens? A 60-game series. So they were fighting and arguing. So what do they get? They get a percentage of their salary. Is that the way it works? How do they get paid?
Pro rata salary.
So
basically on a per game basis.
On a per game. So if it's 162 games, you divide that by 60. Divide it into your salary, and that's what you get. Right. So if you're Garrett Cole, instead of getting 33 million, you're getting 11 million, and then what do?
Hey,
cry?
Right. Well, that's what worries me is not that is this whole. I think this is really damaging to the game. I used to tell my sons that baseball was in decline. It was a great sport, and I was happy I wouldn't live to see it, but someday they would have a World Series and nobody would care and nobody would come and eventually they would fade away. I'm not sure that the World Series is going to outlive me if they keep behaving like this.
I agree with you.
So it's just really depressing.
The game's gotten too long. The batter step. Games are taking 3 hours now. It's gone from. I know we have to get in the politics, but I just want to lament here. Everything is a science now. I hate the shift. I get it. It's all numbers. But everything is computerized. The uppercut swings, everybody's trying to hit homers. The other day on my son's team, this is what's great about high school and college ball. Scott, they still play it for the game. The other day, my son's a left-handed hitter, left-handed pitcher. He gets up. Guys on first and second, nobody out. Tight game. I think we were down 2-1 in the tournament. And he's a left-handed hitter, really good hitter. He hits a ground ball to second base, deep second base, moves over the runners, right? Now you got second and third, 1 out. That's pure baseball. He comes back, the entire team, led by the coach, was high-fiving him out of the dugout. You would have thought he just hit a 3-run homer. But you don't see that in the majors now, right?
No.
Because
and by the way, what you just described, I can remember Mr. Shaw, Lou Shaw, my Little League coach, talking to me about, you don't want to use those swings for home runs. You want to just make contact. You want to put the ball in play. You want to get 3 singles in a row rather than one big uppercut swing. And, so when I hear all this, I'm like you. I understand the science of it, but it's not the sport that I grew up with.
It's getting longer and, too many pitching changes. And, when you see that shift go on and, some big left-handed hitters up, like the guy on Texas, Joey Gallo, and they've got like 6 guys around second base, and then he hits a ball that should have been a base hit. And, somebody's standing there in short right. It's like hit the ball. If you just bunt the ball down the third baseline, it's a single. You do that 5 times, that's the end of the shift. They won't do it. Anyway, We can go on and on and on, but we'll see how it goes. All right, I want to get to ScottRasmussen.com. Scott, you did a poll, and it reverberated through Trump world, okay? I just got to tell you, there's a lot of polls. They're fake polls. Nobody pays attention. You did a poll. I got a lot of phone calls over it from people high up, very concerned, asking me what I had heard. Am my listeners saying the same thing? What's the deal with Scott's poll? You had Biden up 47-37. That's the first time you've had that. You also have Trump's approval rating for the second week in a row, 41%. Your polls are real. Everybody knows that. Tell us what's happening, Scott.
Well, and to be honest, it's even a little worse. Right now it's 48-36. Biden is up by 12. It's among registered voters. And I know a lot of people who support the president say, oh, well, we have the enthusiasm and the likely voter model will change things. And first of all, if that's true, maybe it makes it a 9-point edge, not 12. Mm-hmm. But right now, the Biden team has as much interest in terms of turnout measures as the Trump campaign. John, look, very bluntly, if the election were held today, the president would lose. He would lose badly, and the Republicans would probably lose the Senate. Mm-hmm. And there are three big things that are creating problems. Two of them people talk about all the time, and one nobody talks about. The two that they talk about, the pandemic and everything related to it, the shutdowns, the economy, all of those things. Big issue, obviously, when 40 million people get thrown out of work and all of those things. So that's a big issue. Second big issue, the civil rights topic. Really a tough topic for the president. If it shifts, if people begin to perceive it as a law and order topic, if people begin to sense that things are spinning out of control, well, that will backfire on the left. But at the moment, that's an issue that's hurting the president. But the third one, really important for your audience, is one of the biggest threats to the president's reelection is his base is just repudiating all polls they don't like as fake news. And that is dangerous. I can remember doing a poll showing this guy named Scott Brown was going to win Ted Kennedy's Senate seat, and people on the left just mocked it. Well, guess what? It happened. In 2016, and again, people on the right don't want to hear this, but the polls were pretty good. They showed Hillary winning by 3 nationally. She won by 2. They showed Michigan and Pennsylvania as pure toss-ups, and the last poll in each state showed Trump ahead. It was the analysis. People who were talking about the race just couldn't believe it. They gave all of those races to Hillary in their mind. And so the polls were okay, but people looking at them missed what was really happening in the country. And right now, I fear that a lot of the president's supporters are doing the same thing. And believe me, when those recent polls that I put out showing the president down by double digits, I've heard all of that about, what a bunch of fake news. But it's very real.
Scott Rasmussen, number one, you're the best pollster in America, and you have the track record behind it. And number two, you're spot on. I rang the bell Monday and Tuesday, right? Today's Wednesday?
Yeah.
For 2 days, I thought the rally in Tulsa was a disaster. I don't care how many people watching on Fox News. That doesn't matter to me. Because the problem you have is when the president's key advisors and campaign senior operatives screw up that bad and then excuse it away by saying, well, we had 5 million digital viewers. We had 8 million Fox viewers. That doesn't matter. You screwed the thing up. It was a disaster. He was not at his best. And so you got to learn from that. But I'm hearing the same thing, Scott Rasmussen, I heard at the beginning of the impeachment. Fake news witch hunt. Guess what? He got impeached, okay? And Bannon came on my show and said, dude, President Trump is going to get impeached by Christmas. This was September. I'm like, you're nuts. Yeah. It's fake news witch hunt. No, it was real. He got impeached. And the same thing here. Everybody's telling me, oh, fake news, fake news. And I'm like, when you got Scott Rasmussen saying that you're down to Biden by 13, okay, like you said, maybe it's 9, but it's not tied.
Right.
It's not tied.
Right. And by the way, a couple of other things on that. On the impeachment front, yes, we put out a poll showing that 50% of voters supported the impeachment of the president. Steve Bannon talked a lot about that. That one shook people up, too, because it was showing that it was real, but a lot of people on the right dismissed it. Another big thing we hear right now is, well, the national polls don't matter. I get why people would say that, but the fact is Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2 points. If the president is trailing if he loses the popular vote by 2 points against Joe Biden, he could win the Electoral College, but not if he loses by 8 or 9.
Right.
Now the other side of it, and I do think this is, an important couple of caveats to those numbers. First, this is a very volatile election. We have never had an election like this. When Barack Obama ran for re-election or George W. Bush ran for re-election, the issues they were campaigning on had been issues they had dealt with for their entire term, and we were talking about minor changes. Will this group of of voters go a few more points for this guy or that guy? What we're seeing this year is because these events are so enormous that there is still a significant possibility that the numbers could go strongly in either direction. The president could do very well and win re-election if the economy comes back and the coronavirus doesn't. On the other hand, it is possible if mistakes pile up on the campaign and if there's a second wave and the economy is stalled, the president's re-election bid could end like Herbert Hoover's. It could be a real disaster. But that volatility is something that says these numbers are today, not necessarily November. Second thing that is interesting in the data, the reason the president now trails by double digits rather than 5 or 6 points is not because a lot of Trump voters have switched and said they're going to go for Joe Biden. They have switched from being a Trump supporter to being undecided, to being uncommitted. And that's a big difference in polling. What that tells you is people are a little bit put off. Maybe they like him on the economy, but they don't like him on the way he's talking about the racial tensions that are out there. These people are people that could come back to the president if circumstances change. And the minute you get back to a 5 or 6 point race, well, then all those comments about likely voters and electoral college and campaign strategy are back in play. So I'm not suggesting it's hopeless, but if the election were held today, the president would lose.
And he would lose the Senate.
Yes.
Okay, so this is reality, and this is why on the John Fredericks Show here the past 2 days, we have been ringing the alarm bell and trying to wake people up, and I get various campaign officials come on, and I get the happy talk. So what we're getting out of the campaign is happy talk. What I'm getting out of the White House is happy talk. It's just not going to work because you nailed it. If he loses this race by 8 points, right, he's going to get blown out, Jimmy Carter style. Right? He's going to get blown out, and we're going to lose everything with it. And so the first thing you have to do before you make any changes, Scott Rasmussen, is you have to realize and take stock of your situation. And a lot of people are not doing that, and that is going to hurt us because we've got 4 months. All this stuff can turn around, right. But right now, you nailed it. I mean, people are losing confidence, and the numbers are the numbers. I mean, you can't argue with the data that you've got. It's been accurate, Scott, for 20 years, right? You've nailed race after race after race. These numbers, to me, it's time to hit the panic button because if you go down the same path, Scott Rasmussen, you're going to end up in the same place, right?
That's right. If you dismiss all of this as fake news and nothing, and it's really just the pollsters are wrong, well, you can believe that all the way up to election day. And if nothing changes, it's going to be a really unpleasant election night. There's another issue out there too that I really should mention. A lot of Republicans, especially in the base and some in the Senate, are saying we've spent too much money already. It's time to stop all federal spending. Look, I wrote a book on federal budget issues. I got started I wrote 2 of them, one 30 years ago and one 10 years ago. And so this is an issue that I care about a lot. Spending and the government's role in the economy is something that I share a lot of views with the conservatives on. But right now, the no new spending position is a political disaster. If you had a choice between Nancy Pelosi's bill and the no new spending bill, people would opt for Pelosi by a 2-to-1 margin. And by the way, even Republicans are evenly divided. There needs to be a different approach that has a constitutionally based and more disciplined spending something along the lines of reimbursing small businesses for the losses they incurred because of the government shutdowns. So, the government ordered the shutdowns, the businesses lost money. In a store, if you break it, you buy it. And that's sort of the attitude I think that needs to come through. If you don't have something like that, it is going to end up being a package that looks a lot more like Nancy Pelosi's bill and does more to grow the government rather than the economy.
What is driving that, Scott Rasmussen?
What's driving it is people do not believe at this point that enough has been done to reopen the economy. Mm-hmm. And they don't believe that simply reopening and letting things start again is going to be enough. There is a belief that something more is needed to get the economy back to where it was. I mean, everybody knows people who've been impacted by this. And then the final piece, and I think this is a really important one for people on the right to hear and be aware of, is people think it's a fairness issue. It's a little bit like the takings issue in the Constitution. If the government orders created a situation where you lost money, the government should be responsible for that, because everybody, again, knows a small business owner who has been hurt by this, and I know several restaurants in my area that are doing everything they can to bend the rules and get customers in, but the rules being what they are, they're all losing money.
Very difficult situation. Scott
Yes.
Rasmussen, go to scottrasmussen.com, sign up for his free newsletter. Scott, I know you're busy, but we need to find a way to get you on now every single week, because this is it. You're the voice of reason. We have to combine together to get this message out, because this is not fake news. This is real. These numbers don't lie. If you don't keep telling the story on a weekly basis, it's almost like sometimes you got to go up there with a 2x4 and knock somebody on top of the head, right? You know what I'm saying?
It sounds like you're advocating violence, John. I can't go for that.
Right.
But,
well, just figuratively
no,
speaking,
Yeah.
But
look, these are the numbers, and as I said, one of the biggest threats to the president's reelection are his supporters who don't want to believe the numbers. Let's touch base, and we'll figure out a time to get back on. I do have new polling coming out every week at least, and next week we'll be releasing some new numbers again on this horse race and the president's job approval.
Scott Rasmussen, go to scottrasmussen.com. If you're interested in this election and you don't sign up for his newsletter, I don't know why. Go to scottrasmussen.com. Scott, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John, and just remember, go Yankees.
Oh, my goodness. Cheaters.